Absolutely. It's time for you to call us right now. Sandra is live, and that's what we were waiting on for her to be live. She's been here for a couple of minutes now. So call us up with your immigration questions. People, call me 877-320-5465. Go into the phone lines 877-320-5465 and 877-320-5465. Do you have questions on your conditional green card? Do you have questions on getting your citizenship? Do you have questions whether or not your kids are citizens because you came here at a certain time? Hey, call us up 877-320-5465. Any and all immigration questions you have, we're challenging you to stump the wonderful immigration attorney, our resident attorney on board, Sandra Smith from Manning's Westmoreland. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the lady, Sandra Smith. How you doing, Sandra?
David, why you want the people them to stump me now? What is this about?
Just test your knowledge. Test your knowledge.
How you doing though?
I'm always a bit by you, you know. My money there by you.
No. You want me to hold that money while you do the bet?
Yeah, man. Can hold some Jamaican money, yes. You know. We just want to remind everyone, you must call now because, you know, sooner or later you won't be able to get through. I've got questions for Sandra. She's got things that she's got to tell you or reiterate as she did yesterday. The number once again to call the immigration link is 877-320-5465. That is 877-320-5465 with your immigration questions. It doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter what state, it doesn't matter where you are. U.S. immigration is federal. Sandra can tend to anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, because she, of course, handles U.S. immigration. Once again, call us Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island, 877-320-5465. We call this Revving Up the Line, 877-320-5465. Make the link, call Squeeze, call Sandra Smith, and get your immigration questions answered now. 877-320-5465. Once again, we must remind you that this is an attorney advertisement brought to you by the law offices of Sandra Smith and Associates, located in the beautiful downtown Trump building on Wall Street. And of course, that's on the 28th floor. Call her at 877-829-5297. But if you want to get your questions answered for free, hit her on the airwaves Monday through Fridays from noon until 12:40, 12:30, 12, whatever, whatever she wants to go. She controls this hour. 877-320-5465. You were talking about a few points that you wanted to make clear to everybody out there. And I need for you to just reiterate that before you take the calls at 877-320-5465. 877-320-5465 is the radio number. But hit those points that you hit yesterday. You wanted people to know about it. You text me. You called me before the show. I need for you to jump back on it and let people understand and know what it is that they truly need to know about this as an immigration attorney.
Are we talking about the due process claims
Yes.
recently in the New York Court of Appeals? Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I mentioned it previously a couple of times here. Yesterday, I also mentioned it, and it regards, persons who would have taken felony guilty pleas. And as a result, they're probably in possible deportation. So what the highest court in New York pretty much is now allowing defendants to vacate those previous convictions if they weren't warned of the immigration consequences of taking those felony guilty pleas. So pretty much what will happen now, David, is that the defendant will first have to file a motion to vacate, which if it's facially sufficient, if it's, if they can prove that, they have to establish that there's a reasonable probability that he or she would not have pled guilty and would have gone to trial if they had been informed of the potential deportation. Mm-hmm. So, the question is, is it going to, how reasonable? What's the reasonable probability that you will not have pled guilty? So you're going to have to prove that to be able to move forward in vacating these convictions. Mm. But here's the thing. Just because a person vacates a plea does not mean that the case is going to go away. Right. That is the issue. You're going to still have to deal with the charges, and the government is going to prove that you're guilty. So you're going to have to deal with those charges moving forward. And then if you're subsequently found guilty, here's the thing. You're going to still have to deal with the immigration consequences. So I always advise folks, if you're one of those persons who in the past had pled guilty to felony charges and you're thinking that maybe if you had known of your immigration consequences, you would not have done so, meet with an attorney, have the consultation, make sure you understand what you're going to be doing moving forward. Very, very important. Very, very important.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have people in your office who are very proficient in helping people in a capacity where criminal law is concerned? In retrospect, I know you have somebody there that I've met.
Yeah, we work closely with criminal attorneys, others. Of course, myself, I do immigration law primarily, but we work very closely with criminal attorneys, former district ADAs who are now in private practice who work alongside us and our immigration clients. Yes, the answer is yes.
Absolutely. Once again, folks, speaking with the attorney Sandra Smith. Do remember that Sandra has lived in Trinidad. Am I correct with that?
That's correct.
Sandra has lived in the United States. Am I correct?
I'm living in the United States, yes.
Okay. And Sandra has lived in Jamaica.
Go ahead.
And you can handle legal issues in Jamaica. Expand on that. And Trinidad.
Well, I actually am admitted to both the Trinidad bars and the Jamaica bar. And that therefore means that I can handle cases outside of the United States. Typically, no, what I'm getting a lot of calls on, David, is adoption matters in Jamaica. So for folks who are actually here, who are seeking to adopt children coming out of Jamaica, I'm able to assist with that. And that's what we're doing. Speaking of handling matters in Jamaica, we're doing a lot of those. A lot of people are in the States and they're looking to adopt their family members or, other children. That's something that we are now able to handle. Divorces and also real estate matter coming out of Jamaica. Because you know what happens? A lot of the clients who come into my office, they come in for immigration issues, but they also have other matters outside of the United States. And now we're able to handle those as well.
Okay. Once again, people, speaking with Sandra Smith right here. Remember, you can call. I got a few more questions for her, but remember, you can call 877-320-5465. That is 877-320-5465. 877-320-5465. I have been asked to ask you, because a lot of folks out there have been independently doing their own paperwork. Mm-hmm. And we have been saying on the airwaves that, a lot of people can go out and do their own paperwork. But in many cases, some people could be put in deportation. Also, in many cases, people have a one shot. Can you expand a little bit on that?
That's a very vague question, David. You're going to have to be more specific. Of course, we know that a lot of immigration work is form-based. So a lot of application forms, and people will say, oh, it's just an application form. It's a 2-page. For example, the I-751, which is the removal of conditions after you've had your green card for 2 years. It's, it seems to be a very simple form, but that's one of the most, how do I put it? I get a lot of clients coming into my office because they're in deportation after having incorrectly filled out the I-751 or not having submitted appropriate evidence that should be attached with that I-751. What happens when you're in deportation, you understand what happens. It's a lot of stress, a lot of money, a lot of time. So yes, it's important when you have immigration issues, if you can, and you should try to get an attorney to assist you moving forward. Very important.
Absolutely. Once again, folks, speaking with Sandra Smith right here on the Immigration Link. And remember, you can reach out to her. And I'm just asking her quite a few questions. I know I'm going to ask her the question that she hates me to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But remember the number here, as we have a few lines left open, is 877-320-5465 for you to ask her your specific immigration questions on anything that you may want to find the answer on. 877-320-5465. That's 877-320-5465. Make that call and speak with her yourself. Don't worry, if you don't get on air with her today because of time, we will let you speak with her off air. So don't ever worry that you may be on the line waiting and you cannot speak with her. But Sandra, where is everything with this whole reform thing with President Barack Obama? Yeah, I know you don't like when I ask you that.
No. We're still hopeful. A lot of things have been going on, David. The most recent thing is the the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, he passed. So, a lot of things have been going on. So it's one thing after the other. So we're hoping that at some point they will sit down and grapple with this issue, which is looming. Immigration reform is necessary. We know this. It's a matter of time. We're hoping that early next year it will happen. So,
Now, before I ask you about that interpreter with President Barack Obama, let me ask you this.
What is this, question and answer? There are a lot of folks wanting to ask questions, but go ahead, David.
I know. Doesn't the president have the executive ability to just do what he wants with immigration? He does, right? He doesn't have to wait on the House and the Senate, does he?
David,
in this case, No, no, I'm just.
But here's what here's
in
what
this-
I
he
don't want to
has the
directly
ability.
answer that question, David. I don't want to directly answer that question, but here's what I will tell you.
Yeah.
That over the past year, a number of things have been happening with regards to immigration. I mean, it may not be immigration reform, but it's moving towards immigration reform. I'll give you an example. In the past, persons were limited, for example, to file motion to reopen for non-citizens who were physically present in the United States. Recently, things have happened wherein a person who has been deported, right, who has been deported can now file a motion to reopen from outside of the United States. So little things are happening like that. Of deferred action for childhood arrivals, for example, which occurred early recently. Also, we had provisional waivers that occurred March of this year. A lot of things have been happening. So things have been moving forward for immigrants. There are, different forms of reliefs that are now available. So yes, we're waiting for immigration reform, but things have been going on slowly but surely, I should say.
Okay. Once again, folks, we're here, of course, on the Immigration Link with Sandra Smith. It's so wonderful to actually be here in New York City, though, with you, It just feels so good to be here with you, It's
Yes.
just wonderful. But before I let you go take those calls off air, because we got so many of them, is there anything specific that you'd like to say to your listeners they're listening, not freezing?
No, I mean, you know what I want to say, David, which is so important? It's to stop procrastinating. Folks sit down, they know what their issues are. I mean, a lot of folks come into my office and say, Sandra, I've been listening to you for the past year. For the past year, I've called you several times to come in. And I just canceled the appointment, but I should have come in a year ago because you know what? I could have had my green card already, for example. I had this one client, for example, David, I know you asked me a quick question, who was actually on the bus. I probably mentioned this before, on the bus going to see her spouse. She was on the bus in Buffalo going to see her spouse. And she was taken off the bus, arrested. And 6 months prior to that, she had called me, never came in. Right? Now she's in deportation proceedings. So what I'm saying to folks as you're asking me, what I want to say, stop putting off your case, come in, have that first consultation. You may not even have to go further than a consultation. Come in, let's talk and see how we can help you. Stop procrastinating.
Right. Procrastinate, ladies and gentlemen. That is not something that you want to do. So make sure you call Sandra Smith's office. The number is 877-829-5297. That's 877-829-5297. 877-829-5297. Make that call right now. 877-829-5297. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, make the link. With that said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you to take those calls off air right now, Sandra, and we'll link up. All right? Thank you so much
Certainly,
for being
David.
here.
Have
All
a good weekend.
I'll hit you
Yes.
off the air shortly.